What's going on, guys? So I finished up Faction Wars hard mode, at least what we have right now, of course. And I got these Spiteful Remains on stream today. And in crafting this, I got something that I knew I was lucky for getting, but I didn't realize how lucky I actually was. And a lot of these just aren't that good, to be honest. The Collective strips your protected buffs. It's not really great. The Hammer of Ending only stuns one person, even if you're using an AoE skill. But the Perched Shadow, this one is extremely powerful. I'm going to show you some clips from stream that it's pretty crazy. And I guarantee if you pull this, you have a champion this can go on, and it'd be amazing for. So the wearer has a 10% chance to receive an extra turn when using their default skill if at least one active skill is on cooldown. It's very easy to get this to level 3. So you're going to be able to get a 14% chance for an extra turn. If you eventually took it up to level 6, well, now you're looking at a 4, 8, 12 stack on top of 10 is going to be a 22% chance to get an extra turn. Now, you may have some champions who have built-in extra turn conditions, possibly a Whisper, maybe a Rhodos. It could be fun on those champions, but there's a few champions specifically I think this is amazing for. One being Noot specifically. So Noot in 9 pieces of Merciless has some very cool interactions with this piece of gear. So at 4 piece, we're going to get a chance to reduce the duration of random skill. I'm only using his A3 on most of the stages of Chimera, so I just turn off the A2. So the only thing being reduced is going to be that A3. At 9 pieces, we have a 15% chance of getting an extra turn, just in general. So we can get an extra turn from the A3. The A3 is now on cooldown. Then we use the A1. Well, now we have a 15% chance plus the 14% chance, and I assume they're not multiplicative, and I assume it's just added. Okay, we check for this one, and then we check for the Merciless set, and if we get an extra turn, awesome. If not, well, then of course the turns end. But this had some very interesting interactions and chains on stream. So check this out. My Arbaeus goes, and then my Noot's gonna get a turn after that. He goes in with the A1, extra turn. His A3 was on cooldown. A1 again. Oh, look, another extra turn. Another extra turn. Is he going to go in? No, he doesn't quite get the A3, unfortunately. The extra turn pops up is a little bit weird timing. This, obviously, we don't use the reset on Noot because he's about to go in with his A3 again. There's no reason to reset him. He already got back around to that A3 skill. So we go in with the A3. We always have a chance to reduce the cooldowns of our skills. But when using Fina plus Noot, he was basically getting a max HP hit almost every time he took a turn. Of course, he'd have to cycle around through the stuff, but he was getting so many max HP hits. This is definitely one of my better, there we go, a decreased cooldown from the Merciless set there. A pretty good chance to get it decreased as well. Let's see if the A1 gets decreased here, or extra turn, I mean. Decreased cooldown, no extra turn, unfortunately, but it won't take long for us to get another extra turn. We have the cooldown decreased. We may be back around to the A3 being available. We are. Back around to the A3 being available. Of course, this could only be Merciless proc in there. It doesn't proc. But that's what we're doing. We're working on Noot, specifically getting back around to that A3 skill. That's the #1 priority. There's some champions who are a lot like that. Let's see what happens here. No extra turn, unfortunately. Let's fast forward a little bit. There we go. Noot, extra turn from that A1 skill. There we go. I think that was actually 2 hits. Let's see. Back it up just a little bit. This is a different time than previously. So Arbaeus is her stuff. I have it on auto, so he's using the A1. A3 is on cooldown, using the A1 again. Decreased cooldown. No extra turns from there, but there's no reason for me to reset him with Fina. I probably do every now and then because sometimes I just lose track of it. But he's already cycled back to that A3 so quickly. Now, what I'm saying is there's a few champions that this works really good on, and there's some champions who it would sound good in theory, but it's probably not as useful. But you can definitely give it a shot. A3, big hits, cooldown reduction. Super strong, guys. So with my Nut build, this is what we have going on. We have the 9-piece Merciless, like I said. These are his stats. We click wherever. 284. The crit damage is a little bit low. Unfortunately, this Relic doesn't boost my crit damage, doesn't really give me much defense, so it's not great as far as the stats go, but it's very powerful for the actual effect. Now, some other champions who I think this could be amazing on, Lady Mikage. Lady Mikage is a champion, often ran with Toshiro. Obviously, if you have him, you're probably running Lady Mikage. Harima, Ninja, all kinds of champions Lady Mikage is running alongside. And if you're using the A3, if you have a Androck Mikage team, the A3 is one of your most valuable things. If you can go get extra turns on these various different skills that you use, get back around to more A3s, that's more turn meter boost from Androck, more turns you're lapping the Chimera, and overall just a more powerful and effective Mikage. Basically, if you're using a champion in either 9-piece Merciless, except for some damage dealers, or a 4-piece Relentless set, assuming you're not using them in PvP most likely, the Perched Shadow could be amazing. Now, the reason why I exclude PvP and damage dealers is because champions like Marius, for example, are probably going to be better off with Cat's Gaze or, of course, the Stormcaller Mythical Relic, maybe even a Wand of Submission if you want to throw that on those champions, because it's going to give them so much value in PvE damage dealing in general, but also in PvP content and doing as much damage as possible. And the extra turn relic for a champion like Marius, who already has a pretty low cooldown, is probably going to fall flat a lot of the times, unfortunately. Now, it could definitely boost his damage a little bit, but I think things like the Cat's Gaze or other relics could just be more effective for him. Champions like Marichka, for example, it could be cool on her, but there's plenty of times where I don't necessarily need to use the A2 or the A3 skill. I want to save them, and they won't be on cooldown. I'll just use the A1 instead, and there's no chance of getting an extra turn from that anyways. She's in Relentless. There's some champions who are in PvP that you could make sense of this on, but for Marichka, not so much. Taras, maybe you could make sense of it on him because you don't very often use his A1 over the A2 or the A3 against enemy Rhodoses. Maybe you do against enemy Nices sometimes, but in general, it's going to be the A2, the A3. Maybe you don't have enough Cat's Gaze. Actually, no. Cat's Gaze isn't even good on him because of how it actually works, but maybe you don't have enough good damage dealing relics to go around. Well, a Perched Shadow could be good on him. But I think the champions that it's the best on are going to be champions like Mikage, champions like Cardiel, ally attack champions. It's going to be especially powerful for because these champions, typically your main goal is to get back around to that A3 skill. You're just going to spam the A1 whenever. Both of these champions work great in 9-piece Merciless. They can both do some pretty good extra damage, and getting back to that ally attack is just going to be so powerful. 9-piece Merciless, 4-piece Relentless, either one of those sets are the two that I would see and then consider, okay, would this relic work good on this champion? Of course, all champions you want to get back around to their actives, but some champions you'll be holding their actives a little bit longer, and you may just be using the A1 every so often. So basically, guys, if you forge this relic, definitely don't just crunch it and feed it and just use it to rank up something and just forget about it, because at least for me and on my Noot, it was very powerful. It made a solid difference in Chimera. I was able to get this team to finish out with 13 trials and 180 million damage. And remember, this is a Force plus Magic Affinity rotation. So every other form is Magic Affinity. If this was strong for Noot in both affinities, this would have been very different damage. He would have been doing over 200 million. Also, there were some times on the Viper form that I was trying for a trial and kind of pulling back on the damage a little bit. Also considering swapping Noot's Blessing to something else. Of course, Crushing Rend would make a big difference on Chimera, most likely. Assuming I'm not hitting max HP cap all the time, I do need to pay attention to that, but I may end up swapping that Blessing. Either way, just something to be on the lookout for, guys. Watch out for getting a Perched Shadow relic. Hope you guys get it. I think it's one of the strongest relics from Faction Wars that you're realistically going to get, because let's be honest, these two you'll probably never see. And also, to be fair, this one seems to be okay, but this definitely the most powerful one here, but this one seems to be kind of weird. The Eternal Solgal is cool, but it doesn't seem to be as solid in my opinion. Either way, this one's exciting. I was excited to see that. Let's go check out a few more extra turns from this Noot to see how often they actually hit. So we go for the A3. We'll get the extra turn from the Merciless set. The A1 goes. No extra turn there, unfortunately, but it's to be expected. And remember, if you get this up higher in levels, it's going to be a 22% chance to get an extra turn when you're using that A1 skill when the A3 is on cooldown. Because I don't use the A2 most of the time, so it's typically only the A3 that's on cooldown, which means it's the only thing getting reduced. If I use the A2, I have a higher chance of getting more extra turns from the A1 because the A2 and the A3 will both be on cooldown basically all the time. So anytime I use the A1, it would have the benefits from the Relic, basically. It doesn't get double the benefits as far as I'm aware, but it will have the benefits from that Relic. So here we go with the A1 from Noot. Do we get anything good here? Extra turn. There we go. Got another extra turn. And guess what? He's back around to that A3 skill. Boom, boom, boom. Another extra turn. Do we just go into the A1? We sure do. We don't get any extra turn there, but man, he was getting so many extra turns during this run. It was very cool. Now, comparing this run to the Nightmare one that I did, which was actually yesterday, sorry, the Ultra Nightmare one, which was yesterday before getting this Relic, of course, because Hard Mode Faction Wars wasn't out yet. This run was worse. I got fewer trials. I did learn a little bit more from the one today, so I can fix that definitely next week. But Noot should be doing more damage on the higher difficulty than the lower difficulty because the max HP cap is higher, of course, on a higher difficulty. So he did 142 million there. Ultra Nightmare, I think he did a little bit less, 130. So he should be doing more there. Assuming I can keep him alive, assuming everything is fine there, we'll probably squeeze out a bit more damage from him on Ultra Nightmare. So guys, best of luck getting this Relic. Like I said with Marius, I don't think it'd be very good for him, which is who I may be swapping in for Noot whenever I get him eventually. But he has a 4-turn cooldown here, but he's going to be getting this extra turn here. So 4-turn, it's going to be a 3-turn, and then basically 2-turn. You come around here, you do this. We have 2 A1s to do before you get back to this skill. I forget exactly. I think it may be 2 A1s. But ultimately, he's going to cycle through his stuff very quickly. Marius cycles through everything very fast. I think the other relics are probably just more powerful for him. But either way, guys, let me know what you're thinking so far about Hard Mode Faction Wars, as well as what relic are you excited to get, or what champion do you think this relic would be especially amazing for? Do you think it would break any champion, make them next level insane? I was thinking Rhodos because 9-piece Merciless Rhodos plus that A1, the A3, all that kind of crazy stuff could be pretty cool. I could give it a shot on the test server, but I mean, Aspect of Searoth is just so strong for him. I don't see a situation where I would use that relic, even if it did give me more extra turns from that A1 skill, over Aspect of Searoth. Aspect of Searoth prevents him from dying when he's at like 2% HP from a massive Siegfried hit, just because it reduces the turn meter. So this is just too good for him. But if I didn't have this, I would probably be considering the Perch Shadow. Now, honestly, I'm also considering getting that up to a little bit higher level, because having the higher percentage chance to get extra turn would be very, very nice. So as far as 4-star relics, though, we have one here, 12, level 4. Yeah, so basically adds 2%, but I could also get an extra 2% on my Ignore defense for my Cat's Gaze. So there's a lot more things I could be picking up. But either way, guys, thank y'all very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that little video there. And guys, catch you all in the next one.